Hey guys, Tim Little here with TacticalBassin. Today I want to talk to you guys about my top 5 baits for spotted bass fishing. When I'm heading to a lake and I know that I'm going to target spots, there's always 5 baits, some type of bait that I have tied on, and I'm going to talk about those today. The first thing that I always have tied on when I'm going to fish for spots is a tube. You've seen Matt and I's previous video talking about tube fishing and our different techniques and stuff. I have a lot of confidence in this style bait. I've caught a lot of fish on it, a lot of big fish on it. I always have a tube tied on. If I do want to change it up a little bit, I will sometimes switch out to a darter head. You can get a little bigger presentation, put your favorite plastic on it, switch it up a little bit. My number 2 bait that I always have tied on is a Cinco. You know, it's pretty interesting talking to the guys back east that don't know what a Cinco is, or they've never fished a Cinco deeper than 15, 20 feet. I always have a Cinco tied on. If it's shallow enough or the fish are suspended, I will throw it wacky rigged, weightless. If I want to fish it on the bottom, I put a nail weight in it and I fish it on the bottom. A Cinco is a tremendous fish catcher, catches giant fish, catches quantities of fish. Always have a Cinco tied on. My next bait that I always have tied on, a drop shot. For those who don't know what a drop shot is, it's a rig that suspends your bait up off the bottom. You have your weight down here on the bottom. You can nose hook, Texas rigged, your favorite plastic, robo worm, Cinco, shad style baits, you know, something that mimics a bait fish. If the fish are suspended, this is where I like throwing the drop shot. You can see them on the graph, and you can drop your vertically, you can get right above them, you can drop your bait straight down and fish for them. You can video game fish, if you will, for them. If they're on the bottom, you can shorten up your leader and fish for them on the bottom. So I always have a drop shot tied on. Next bait is a jig. I like heavy style jigs. This is a traditional style skirted football jig with a weed guard. I usually throw 3/4 ounce. I like to fish deeper water. I like the commotion of a heavy jig down there on the bottom, digging something up. Get out of here, kitty. If I'm going to switch it up from a traditional style football jig, I will throw like a hula grub style jig. It's a football style head, and you can put your favorite plastic on it, like a beaver, or this is a Yamamoto hula grub. You can get them all sorts of colors. This works very well. It's got the exposed hook, you know, different than the jig with the weed guard. I usually like this if I'm fishing structure, rock, something that the weed guard will help me get from me not getting snagged. Next bait I always have is some type of swim bait, whether soft or hard. That depends on 2 things really. If I'm going to fish for suspended fish, or if I'm going to fish on the bottom. If I'm fishing on the bottom, I'm going to throw a boot style swim bait, or like a wedge style swim bait, you know, like a HUD 68, something that you can slow roll on the bottom. You don't have a hook on the belly to get caught up. I don't know if you can see this bait or not, but it looks like I've rubbed it with sandpaper. I've caught a lot of fish, a lot of spots with this bait. This is an Osprey top hook tournament talon. This color is specifically reverse hitch. Great bait. I like this bait because it is soft. You know, these spots, even these giant spots, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 pounders, you start getting these giant frames, but their mouths are still only the size of a 3-pound spot. So you take a bait like this, you know, it's nice and soft, you get that little mouth behind it, and they can actually still get the hook. Sometimes with the hard baits, they have a hard time getting the hook. But talking about hard baits, this is the River to Sea S-Waver 168. This is by far my favorite hard swim bait to throw for spots. I've caught a lot of big fish on this one, on this style bait, this color specifically. I don't know what it is about this light trout color. It's ugly, but it flat out catches them. Largemouth too. I throw this bait if I see the spot suspended up in the water column. Throw it out off a point, count it down, what have you, and reel it back. Great spotted bass lure. The next style bait that I have is a Topwater. I always have a Topwater tied on unless it's dead of winter, but I always have a Topwater tied on. If they're up in the water column, seems like I can always get some fish to follow and commit to a Topwater bait. My favorite style of baits are or favorite brands I should say, favorite types, the Zara Spook, Reaction Innovations Vixen, and the River Sea Rover. All three of them have different sounds. They walk a little bit differently. You can check out Matt's video on his top 5 walking baits. He explains the different sounds and things like that. But whether it's a spook, a vixen, or a rover, I always have one tied on. It's a great way to get big bites. So hopefully that helps you out. You know, it is top 5 baits for spotted bass, but you can see there's quite a bit on there. You can switch it up a little bit, but I always have a tube or a darter head. I always have a Cinco, whether it's nail weighted or weightless. I have a jig, I have a swim bait, and a topwater bait. So I hope this helps, guys. Next time you're going out to fish for some spots, try some of these baits. Good luck out there.
It's late summer now. I've been getting a lot of emails from guys wondering about the transition from summer to fall. What kind of baits we're throwing during that time of year. You know, for some people that transition time is a very difficult time to target fish, but I found that it's a great time to be out on the water, a great time to be fishing.